This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Chapter 29, A Trap to Spring, and our symbol is the Flame of Tarvalin. In a corner, the spit dog was lying at its ease. Glaring at it, Nynaeve mopped sweat from her forehead with her hand and leaned her back into doing the work she should have done. I'd not have put it past them to shove me in his wicker wheel instead of letting me turn the light-forsaken handle. I, said I, burn them all. It was a measure of her upset that she used such language, and another that she did not even notice she had done it. She did not think the fire in the long gray stone fireplace would seem any hotter if she crawled into it. She was sure the brindle dog was grinning at her.
Spit dogs are a fascinating concept to me.
I don't really understand. I mean, I get the mechanics, but a dog? Just to do that? It's just bizarre.
They stick them in a little, like basically a rat cage wheel, and have them run and turn the spit for them, rather than having like people do it. And it was like before you had any kind of powered automation or rotisserie chicken, you had spit dogs.
Yeah, I get it. It's just bizarre.
I feel like they used to use animals for a lot of things that we sort of would find bizarre these days.
It's like the Flintstones or something. That's just what it makes me think of.
But it's not fictional at all.
Wait, are we talking about the Flintstones or the spit dog? I'm looking up pictures. They're like mounted to the ceiling. So the girls are working in the kitchens, scrubbing, doing various tasks. Nynaeve is just turning a spit, kneeled next to a fireplace.
A very hot fireplace.
Laris walks over to glare at them, which apparently is a common occurrence. And that's just when the Emerald Seat walks in. I skipped like a full page there because it's mostly Nynaeve talking about how she's tried to handle Laris in various ways and failed every time.
All right, I have two things to say about Laris. Do you think she's in with the kin?
She would be. I wouldn't be surprised.
She's got that secret hidey hole that she like sneaks men out of.
Uh-huh.
And obviously it's something she's done before, so she's snuck women out of the tower that want to leave. And where do those women end up? Well, if they don't end up back at the tower, I'm guessing she has a whole network. She knows people that can help them out. It's entirely the kin.
I like the theory.
I think Laris has a soft spot for women that can't handle it, and she's been sneaking them out and knows the kin and has been sneaking them out that way.
She definitely has a backbone.
Totally. And also that spoon that she carries for smacking the girls and not for stirring.
Yeah.
I love when she stirs with it. And then gets stuff all over her uniform. It's like one of the most satisfying moments in this whole chapter.
We know that she has a heart of gold in the future. And also, Swan talks about it in this next scene here. I'll read this little part as Swan stalks in. Nynaeve is excited to see her because they've been hoping that they could pass her a message secretly before they leave, which will be soon in either case. The Amerlin stalked about the kitchen. She stared at the women slicing oatcake. She glared at the women peeling vegetables. She sneered into the soup kettles, then at the women tending them. The women became engrossed in studying the surface of the soup. Her frown set the girls carrying plates and bowls out into the dining hall to a run. Her glower put the novices darting like mice sighting a cat. By the time she had made her way half around the kitchen, every woman there was working twice as fast as she had been. By the time she completed her circuit, Laris was the only one even daring to glance at her. I like this image of Swan like a ship captain.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't say anything. I'm imagining this goes on for minutes.
Oh, totally. She's just stalking around and like, you just don't want to be the first one to break the silence. She does use silence effectively.
Yeah. We've talked about that before.
Yeah. And we've also talked about how she teaches Elaine to inspect one part of the tower every day, just so you know what's going on and you can keep track of the reports and verify that everything is coming in correctly and nobody's like cheating the system.
Sure.
And so I think she's doing both. She's using this as an opportunity to talk to the girls, but also
plausible deniability.
Yeah, she's checking out the kitchen.
Yeah.
Seeing what's going on. Make sure the food's good.
It's good to walk by your soldiers every now and then and keep them guessing as to when that'll be.
Mm-hmm. And this is where it freaks Loris out so much. She actually starts
Stirring with her spoon. That's not for stirring.
No.
That's a good question, Sam. I have no idea. I would imagine that the only reason Swan ever visits the kitchens is to do this.
She might like get food every once in a while.
Maybe, but she's kind of like, she's a queen. I can't imagine she like goes down to the cafeteria. You know what I mean? So, I'm not saying that she never does or wouldn't, but
I think of it more like a school where the principal like eats in the cafeteria.
yeah.
A lot of women eat down there, right? They don't always just get plates and take them back with them.
Is she like Dumbledore at his table facing the rest of the tables?
Totally. That's kind of what I imagined. I guess, yeah, this is the kitchen, not the eating area, technically. So going back in the kitchens is a little bit different.
Yeah. And I'm skipping over a lot, but
I did just want to say Nynaeve's comment about being easily cowed.
she told herself she had to pretend to be cowed like everyone else.
Uh-huh. She's like, those easily cowed women. Let me just put my head down and not pay attention.
The Emerald's gaze fell on Elaine, and abruptly she spoke nearly loud enough to rattle the copper pots and pans hanging on the walls. There are some words I will not tolerate in a young woman's mouth, Elaine of House Traken. If you let them in, I will see them scrubbed out. Everyone in the kitchen jumped. Elaine looked confused, and indignation crept across Egwene's face. Nynaeve shook her head, small frantic shakes. No, no. But Egwene did open her mouth, with a respectful, if determined, "Mother, she did not silence." The mother's roar produced another ripple of jumps, and she sends them off to have their mouths washed out with soap.
Literally.
Yep, just to create a disturbance so that she can continue stalking around, making everyone nervous.
I thought a big part of it was that she wanted to talk to Egwene and Nynaeve and give them information and receive information. But because Elaine wasn't supposed to be, in quotes, part of the group, she had to send her away so she could talk to the other two.
Oh, probably.
It just happens that Egwene got caught up in it.
So she sends the girls away to have their mouths scrubbed out with soap, and she uses this kind of tense moment in the kitchen to kind of mumble under her breath while standing near Nynaeve.
I mean, kitchens are pretty loud places, so I imagine if nobody else is nearby, she's able to, like,
oh yeah,
mutter without moving her lips too much and not draw attention. Make it look like she's not even talking. She's just standing in the corner, staring.
I did not mean for Egwene to be caught in that. The Emerald barely moved her lips, but perhaps it will teach her to think before she speaks.
Nope, it won't.
She never really does. I thought you were going to keep a close eye on us, Mother, so we could report what we find. If I come stare at you every day, daughter, some would grow suspicious. The Emerald kept up her study of the kitchen. Most of the women seemed to be avoiding even looking in her direction for fear of incurring her wrath. I planned to have you both brought to my study after a midday meal to scold you for not choosing your studies, so I implied to Leanne, but there is news that could not wait. Shiriam found another gray man, a woman, laying in her bed, dead.
Yep.
Paraphrase that last part, but we've gone over this before and speculated wildly about what happened there. I stick with my headcanon that this is like that scene in The Godfather where the casino owner won't sell, and so they cut off his prized racing horse's head and have him wake up in the morning to covered in its blood and sleeping with the severed head. And so, no, it's just an implied threat. Like, if you don't do what you're meant to do, this could be you.
Right.
Look at how easily we did this. That's what I think. Shiriam failed in whatever her task was, which we've also talked about in previous episodes. But I think, like when she shows up after the death of the first Gray Man, after the first assassination attempt, wow, I'm talking real good tonight. After the first assassination attempt on Egwene, we suspected that Shiriam was there to see to it that they were dead, to make sure that the plot worked, but it didn't. And Shiriam was supposed to be there to see this thing through, but she didn't. So, Horsehead, dead gray woman in her bed. This gray woman could have been alive, is what the statement is, I think.
Now, my counter argument to that is We know Slayer killed one gray man. I think that was the gray man.
Yeah. The
and then
first dead one.
The first dead one, because he got captured. And I think the second one may have actually been sent after Shiriam as like a... And she may have killed it with the one power, which is why it was dead with no mark on it.
Yeah.
Because Slayer kills with a knife.
But then why lay it neatly in her bed? In her own bed?
Because she couldn't smuggle it out without people seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a room. It came after her in her room. Kill it, lay it down in your bed, and say, "Oh my god, look what I just found."
That is last week's fish and not a mark on her. She was laid out as if resting, right in the middle of Shiriam's bed. Not very pleasant for Shiriam.
The thing is, we don't see a lot from Shiriam again until Saladar, which is so far removed in time, it's very hard to...
Yeah, I don't think we ever get a Shiriam POV or anything.
We do in Saladar, but I think it's like limited to like a pretty narrow time frame.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. I would like to know more about that.
Because she's like getting her fingers broken for not doing what she's supposed to.
Oh, that's right.
Or did she gets a finger cut off?
I think so.
Yeah, it's cut off. And so then they sort of give her I want to say a salad basket of, we suspect all of these women because they're acting weird.
Yeah.
And it's like not helpful information at all because some of them are black, some of them aren't.
Swan kind of dismisses it, but we know that everything Swan says is calculated. I would suspect that she already has people watching the other ones, and that's the reason she's only like, Alana, huh? Well, I guess I could have some eyes on her, too. And after Swan asks, she says, "I suppose I can keep an eye on her. Have you learned anything useful yet, child?" "Some," Nynaeve muttered grimly. "I do not understand why you trust Elsie Grinwell, but your message was helpful." In short, quick sentences, Nynaeve told of the things they had found in the storeroom under the library, making it seem only she and Egwene had gone, and added the conclusions that they reached concerning them. She did not mention Egwene's dream, or whatever it had been. Egwene insisted it had been real, of Teleran Riad, nor did she speak of the terengrial Varen had given Egwene. She could not make herself entirely trust the woman wearing the seven-striped stole, or any woman who could wear the shawl for that matter, and it seemed best to keep some things in reserve. When she was done, the Emerlin was silent so long, Nynaeve began to think the woman had not heard. She was about to repeat herself, a little louder, when the Emerlin finally spoke, still hardly moving her lips. "I sent no message, daughter." The things Leandrin and the others left were searched thoroughly, and burned after nothing was found. No one would use Black Aja leavings. As for Else Grinwell, I remember the girl. She could have learned, had she applied herself, but all she wanted was to smile at the men, at the warder's practice yard. Else Grinwell was put on a trading vessel and sent back to her mother 10 days ago. Nynaeve tried to swallow the lump that had formed in her throat.
So yeah, that's the freaking out part, that this person, Else Grinwall, was not Else Grinwall.
Else is something else.
And all of those materials were a trail leading to a bait leading to a trap.
Just totally fake.
Totally fake. And I think they assume it's Black Aja, not Forsaken.
Yes. I'll read this next part as well because I thought it was enlightening a bit. The Emerlin's words made her think of bullies taunting smaller children. The bullies were always so contemptuous of the littler children, always so sure small ones were too stupid to realize what was happening, that they made little effort to disguise their snares. That the Black Aja was so contemptuous of her made her blood boil. That they could set this snare filled her stomach with ice. And then she thinks, anyone I talked to could be Leandrin. If Else wasn't Else, who was she? Worse than Leandrin, Nynaeve.
Right.
Much worse.
Much worse.
Or perhaps better, depending on how you look at it.
Worse. Leandrin's pretty incompetent.
But Lanfear is sending them where they need to go. Where they need to be.
True.
I'm not saying her motivations are good.
Right.
But she is
sending them after the Black.
For the moment, on their side.
Her Lanfear's driving motivations are always so weird to me.
I love it. That's why I love her character so much. Because she's all about herself, but oftentimes being about herself is being about Rand and the people closest to him.
Right. And she does so much behind the scenes in the first 4 books, really. Well, she's not in the Eye of the World, but book 2, 3, and 4 are pretty much all Lanfear driven. Because
Yeah.
The Great Hunt, she's with Rand the whole time, like pulling him into the portal world, setting him ahead of everybody else, letting him steal the horn back,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And then in this book, she's
Sending the
girls and
to Tyr.
doing a whole bunch of other stuff with Rand and watching over him. And then, of course, in the Waste, she's with Kadir and that whole troop of Black Ajah.
Yeah.
Or Dark Friends.
Right.
And then up until the point where where Moraine takes her out, she's pretty closely watching and controlling Rand for 3 books.
Until Moraine takes her out.
Yep. So the Amyrlin points out that it's a very obvious trap.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Do you mean to fall into this trap too?
Yes, they do.
I know this trap for a trap, Mother, and the best way to catch whoever set a trap is to spring it and wait for him, or her, to come. Perhaps so, child. Perhaps it is the way to find them, if they do not come and find you held tightly in their net.
Mm-hmm.
She gave a vexed sigh. I will put gold in your room for the journey, and I will let it be whispered about that I have sent you out to a farm to hoe cabbages. Will Elaine be going with you?
It's a good thing that Matt's there to haul them out of that net that they get caught in.
Yep.
Elaine included. Yeah, and this is where we get the reveal that the Amyrlin, set it all up so that Elaine would end up going as well.
Oh, yeah. We believe that she knew it the whole time.
This way I can say straight out that it was none of my doing.
She says, do you have any questions for me, Nynaeve? Nynaeve asks about Kalendor and what it is.
Oh, we should also point out that she says she's going to give him a bunch of money.
Yes.
For the journey.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
I read that part.
Yeah. I thought it was odd that very few women knew what Kalendor was. I thought the knowledge was more widespread than that. I guess once Rand pulls it and starts using it, the knowledge becomes pretty widespread.
Yeah. These things are like vague prophecy from thousands of years ago about a sword and a stone. People don't pay much attention to this kind of thing anymore. Nobody believes that the end of the world is coming. I'm not surprised that people don't care to find out about some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
An ancient Terangriel made for men. Well, that's useless.
Sangreal.
Oh, right.
And it says, of the most powerful Sangreal ever made, there were only 2 more powerful. Do you know which 2 those are?
The Choden Call.
And?
The Choden Call are 2.
Well, one's male. The other's female.
Vora's Sangreal?
That's also female. There's another male one out there.
Oh.
Demandred's.
Do you think Swan even knows about that?
Yes. It's called the Sakarnin. That's a tough word to pronounce.
Oh, yeah.
And it is stronger than Kalendor. And it doesn't have the flaws. But it's obviously not a true power.
Right.
Sangreal.
Yeah, Bambi, we don't see that till Amal. There is, I guess, a non-canon chapter about it that Brandon Sanderson wrote called River of Souls. If you haven't read it, you should.
I think it is canon. I think it was just unpublished. It just didn't fit in the flow.
Right.
The one with Perrin, I think, is not canon.
It's a single chapter about Shara.
Yeah. But we don't see that second one.
Yeah, until the last battle.
Yeah. It is also possible that she is talking about the Choden Call here and she doesn't know about the chalice.
Oh, yeah. I just assumed she was talking about the Choden Call. She also says they were never used, which is true, I think.
The Choden Call we know were never used. I don't know about the chalice. I thought that was also sealed away before it could be used and protected by a mature worm, actually.
Yeah.
And here we get a little background about all the Terangrial in the stone.
Right. We go on. Well, we get a glimmer of Swan's history. Maybe I should read this part?
Sure, yeah. Because remember, she is from Tyr.
Right.
So this is, when she talks about being bundled off, a bit of her own personal
history.
Yeah.
They could be after something else, she said after a moment. This is Swan speaking. They stole Terangrial here. The Stone of Tyr holds nearly as many Terangrial as the Tower. I thought the High Lords hated anything to do with the One Power, Nynaeve whispered incredulously. Oh, they do hate it, child. Hate it and fear it. When they find a Terran girl who can channel, they bundle her onto a ship for Tarvalin before the day is done, with hardly time to speak goodbyes to her family. The Amerlin's murmur was bitter with memory. Memory. She goes on to say that they kind of hoard these things, as if by doing so they can diminish the existence of the thing that they cannot rid themselves of, the thing that reminds them of their own doom every time they enter the heart of the stone. The fortress that has broken 100 armies will fall as one of the signs that the dragon has been reborn. Not even the only sign, just one. How that must rankle their proud hearts.
I think she's got a little bit of bitterness about the way they treated her there.
Yeah.
Thinks of them as proud and arrogant, which
I mean, they
see
are.
them as being pretty proud and arrogant.
They're
That's
kind
true.
of awful.
Yeah, the Terran High Lords are kind of always a pain in the butt. Isn't that where Wireman is from? Isn't he a Terran High Lord?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's always reminds me of just like the worst of the worst. That whole like the way they plot and the way he sends them to he sends the Terran nobles to Kyrian and the Kyrianan nobles to Terran and or
To
is that
Tyr.
with the Tyr? Yeah. Or is that with Andor? Might be Andor.
I can't remember.
Oh yeah, Wireman was probably at the Dark Friend Social.
Nice.
Probably the Lord of Tyr there.
Bambi's bringing up a good point that any Terran peasant probably hates the High Lords for the polarized class structure.
Yeah, there's definitely some people that think the High Lords are, the cat's meow, especially with once Bilal starts putting out like dreams saying everybody should love me.
Nice, Sam. Sam says Boar sees someone dressed as a Terran High Lord. It probably is.
Yeah.
Wyramon? Is that how?
That's how I think it's said.
Yeah.
Wyramon. But, they have to go into the heart because that's where they're raised as High Lords. And that's where they perform what they call the rite of guarding 4 times a year. Any idea what that is?
No, I figured it just like a ancient military ritual. Like that YouTube video I was talking about the other day of the Marine gun inspection. It takes like 5 minutes and they do this. It's like a crazy choreographed dance, essentially, is what it is.
Rifle juggling.
Yeah. But it's just 2 guys that move like robots for an incredible amount of time. I figure it's something like that. Something that's, it's just there to represent, Yeah.
They're guarding the whole world against the dragon by doing their little dance in front of the sword that's protected from them ever touching it.
Right.
Yeah, they're not doing anything.
Man the walls. Oh, they're already inside. Shit.
Yeah, walls don't do you any good when the Aiel just climb the roofs and
Matchroom
sneak
coffin
in.
blows a hole in the side of the building.
Right.
Is that all, child? Yes, mother, Nynaeve said. Just like reading it in that tone.
What, Nynaeve being a petulant little child? No, never. And here's where I guess she learns a little bit about Laris and the fact that she actually is kind of kind-hearted.
Yeah. Nynaeve says, Laris is a sour lump of lard, and too handy with that spoon by half. She thought she had muttered it under her breath, but she heard the Amerlin chuckle wryly. You're a fine judge of character, child. You must have done well as the wisdom of your village. It was Laris who went to Shiriam to demand to know how long you 3 are to be kept to the dirtiest and hardest work, without a turn at lighter. She said she would not be party to breaking any woman's health or spirit, no matter what I said. A fine judge of character, child. Laris came back into the doorway then, hesitating to enter her own domain. The Amerlin went to meet her, smiles replacing her frowns and stares. It all looks very well to me, Laris. The Amerlin's words came out loud enough for the entire kitchen to hear. I see nothing out of place, and everything is as it should be. You are to be commended. I think it will make Mistress of Kitchens a formal title. I wanted to throw that part in because it kind of comes up later a bit.
How so?
Laris is important. I mean, she smuggles Min out, and she helps Egwene.
And she helps Suan herself get out.
Yes, that's right. She smuggles Swan out as well. I also had to have the thought in passing that when Nynaeve says, oh, she's just sour and she swings that staff of hers about, way too much. And that sounds exactly like what Nynaeve was like.
Yes.
She's just mean and swinging this thing around, and
Nynaeve gets really upset when people act like her. I won't yell at you, Nynaeve yelled. It's my favorite. I just want to note that here's where Laura smears soup on her white apron. Just makes me giggle every time. Every time I read that.
She's so distracted.
Every time I read that, it makes me laugh. I don't know why. But because she's just this like stern, sort of like spotless apron working in a kitchen and getting soup smeared all over it is just perfect.
I will smile at her if it kills me, Nynaeve thought, though she had to grit her teeth to do it. Egwene and Elaine appeared, twisting their faces and scrubbing their mouths with their sleeves. At a stare from Laris, they dashed to the spit and resumed their labors. Soap, Elaine muttered thickly. Tastes horrid. Egwene trembled as she spooned juice from the dripping pan over the roasts. Nynaeve, if you tell me the Amyrlin told us to stay here, I will scream. I might run away for real. We leave after the washing up is done, she told them, just as quickly as we can fetch our belongings from our rooms. She wished she could share the eagerness that flashed in their eyes. Light send we aren't walking into a trap we can't get out of. Light send it so.
As long as you got help.
It is a bit interesting that they free the person that gets them out in the same moment that they leave Tyr, he leaves Tyr, and then they meet.
You mean
at the trap?
Tarvalin.
Oh, yes, I meant Tarvalin.
No, they're all being pointed there. So he ends up, because he encounters Tom, goes to Camelin, and he overhears the thug being given a command to kill the girls. And that's why he shows up in Tyr.
Oh.
Because he, in Camelin, overhears the orders to murder the women.
How providential.
So by the time he gets there, Morghese is completely under the control of Ravine.
Yeah.
And they are working together. He's working together with Balal to bring Rand in there. And that's why he sends his goon after. Trap
Rand, the Black Ajah, to trap the girls. Take their stuff.
And that's a dude who I think Matt ends up killing him in a tavern. Gets really lucky. Dude jumps him.
Yeah.
Him. But as he's dying, he's like, "You fool, there are 100 more just like me. You'll never stop us all," type situation. And that's what sends Matt in after the girls.
Typical villain.
Yep. You caught me monologuing. But yeah, so we get to start Matt's Lucky Night tomorrow. Or next chapter.
Yeah. For you audio-only people, that actually happens in about 10 minutes. But unless you're in Discord, you gotta wait like a day. That was a shorty.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?